All right, we've got a lot to do in this lesson. We're going to connect all of the controls that we've got for the arms to the system. We're also going to do a set-driven key to make a fist. And we're also going to do some pole vectors and a little bit of expression to get an automatic forearm twist. All right, let's get started because we've got a lot to do. First thing we'll do is select this S control, shift select the IK handle for the clavicle, and we'll do a point constraint. Okay, I'll do that on both sides. So now when I move this control, it moves the shoulder. Okay, that looks good. And let me bring back my upper body controls for just a second. All right, I'll go ahead and select both of these clavicle controls. Control G to group them, and I'll call this clavicle group. GRP for group. All right. And I'll shift select this back control and hit P to parent. So now when I grab this back, it moves the neck and the shoulders correctly. All right, very good. Next, let's talk about this wrist control. I'll select the wrist control, shift select the IK handle, and we're going to do a point constraint. Okay, we'll do it on the other side. Wrist control, shift select the IK control, or IK handle, point constraint. Now what does that give me? That gives me the ability to now grab this control, move the hand. Okay, but there's two major problems that we see here. One, you see the elbow pops out and does whatever it wants. That's just like the knee, so we're going to need to create a pole vector. So let's get that situation fixed first. We can just use these existing pole vectors. Okay, so we have them, we might as well use them. I'll press Control D to duplicate, move one out of the way. Take the other one, Control D, move it out of the way. Okay, and the easiest place we can put these is to snap them to the elbow, just like that. And then we'll just move them back in space. We'll freeze transformations, and let's give them some names here. So this will be the right elbow control, and the other one will be the left elbow control. Okay, so let's go ahead and set these up as pole vectors. We'll shift select the IK handle, constraint, pole vector. Okay, select the control curve, the IK handle, pole vector. Perfect. And when I did that, I got a little bit of rotation in this joint. So let me re-rotate that just a little bit. Make sure everything lines up nicely. Okay. So what we have now is our elbow is fixed. Okay, we can pick this up and move our elbow wherever we want. So that's fixed, but look at the hand. See how the hand itself rotates kind of wherever it wants. There's no control in the hand, because if I was to put my hand on something, I want it to lock down. So as I move around, you notice how my hand is moving around? Well, we don't want that. We want to lock down. So we need to create a wrist control. So let's start off with a circle. We'll do a create NURB circle. Okay, let's snap it to the wrist. And let's just rotate that 90 degrees in Z, so it's a little bit easier to select. All right, freeze transformations, delete history. This is going to be called the left wrist control. Okay. And I'll duplicate that and make one on the other side. Snap that into place. Freeze transformations, and we'll just rename that. Correct name here. This will be the right. There we go. Okay, so we want this curve to control this wrist joint orientation. All right, and the way we'll do that is we'll select the curve, shift select the joints, and we'll go to Constraint, Orient. Okay, let's do the other side here. Select the curve, select the wrist, constraint, orient. Okay, that's good. Lined up nice. All right, so what do we get out of this? Well, let's take a look. If we move our block, notice my hand no longer automatically rotates. It's based off of the rotation of this little curve. Well, that's cool, but we need to have that curve go with the main object. Okay, so we'll pick the cube, shift select the wrist control, and we'll do a constraint point. Same thing over here. Constraint point. So now, when I pick up the cube, the wrist goes with it. Okay. So let's pull this out here, move it up, move the elbow down, and we can take our wrist control and rotate that into position. Okay, a lot of great controls happening here. Okay, now we're going to add an expression. So when I rotate my wrist, like this, an X, it also rotates this joint a little bit. And by doing that, when we bind, we'll get a little bit of forearm twist. If you take a look at your arm and you put your elbow on the table and then rotate your wrist, you notice how your forearm twists? Well, we want to simulate that. Okay, and the way we're going to do that is to add an expression onto this joint. Actually, onto this joint right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this forearm joint. We'll go over to the rotate X. Okay, and I'm going to right click and go to expressions. Now I probably need to freeze that channel. Let's just see what happens here if we do this. Okay, we'll go to expressions. Now we want to add it to the left forearm rotate X, so I'll just highlight this and move it down. And I'm going to say equals the left wrist control dot rotate X. And I don't want it to be a direct connection like this, so if I rotate the wrist control 20 degrees, then it, let me make capital X there, then it would do the, it would rotate the forearm 20 degrees. I don't want to do a direct connection. I want to do a third. So that would be times 0.3, semicolon. Okay, we'll hit create. There we go. It snapped it in. Close. Okay, looks really good. So here's what happens. When I select this, and now I rotate, notice my joint here is rotating. So I've got a great relationship set up where I can pick this joint, but when I rotate it, I get some slight rotation right here. Now, depending on your character, this character looks really good with a third of rotation, but you may want to adjust that. And if you really want to get fancy, you could make yourself a little slider, maybe like on the hip control or on the arm control, that slides the amount of rotation that gets passed on. So you can definitely expand this technique into a lot deeper situation. All right, let's do the same thing here. Make sure that we have this. This is connected. Very good. So on this rotate X, we're going to do make expression. Okay, we'll highlight this, drag it down, and this is going to be connected to the right wrist control dot rotate X. Okay, and then times is the little asterisk 0.3. All right, we'll go ahead and create that. Close. Let's just verify that it still looks good. We're in the right position. May need to move this up just a hair. Okay, and we'll freeze the transformations there. So anytime you make little edits like that, just go ahead and put them in the right position and then freeze the transformations. All right. So that's looking really good. Let's go in and add a quick set-driven key on the hand. Okay, and then we need to add a twist connection here on the shoulder clavicle control there. All right. So to do the hand, it's going to be really simple. I'm going to select the wrist control, and we're going to add an attribute. Okay, I'm going to call this fist. And a minimum of 0, maximum of 1, default of 0. Okay, just to make things easy. And I'm only going to do one side just so you can see how this works. All right, let's go ahead and go to Animate, Set Driven Key, option box. The fist control is going to be the driver, so I'll hit Load Driver, fist. And what's going to be driven? It's going to be each one of these joints. So I'll just get my selection tool, hit Q there, and I'll just quickly pick these joints. And I like to go from the tip of the finger back, just so I can make sure that I've got them all. Just like that. Load driven, there they are. Okay, so I'll highlight all of them. And I believe we're going to do a rotate Y. Now we can check this. We can just click and drag, and yep, that looks good. So I'll hit key. Now this is really simple. All we have to do is go over to our fist control, set it to 1, reselect our joints like this, okay, rotate Y, and curl our fingers in like so. We'll hit key. Okay, and I'm going to close this window just so I can demonstrate what's going on. Okay, so now I can open and close my fist. And you can see we've got a great fast set driven key on making a fist. Now, I didn't do the thumb because the thumb is its own little beast. So let me frame that real quick. Okay, and let's open up our set driven key again. Animate, set driven key, option box. Again, the driver is going to be the fist control. And I'll set the fist at 0 so I can key the thumb. And let's select all the pieces of the thumb, just like that. Okay. Hit load driven. And I'm going to key all 3 of the rotate channels. I'm going to hit key. The reason being is when I set this fist to 1, okay, crank that all the way up, I want to have full control over how I'm rotating my thumb joints. Okay, I want to be able to pose this exactly. Let me frame this up here. I want to be able to pose it up really nice the way I want to have control over this. So we'll just get this posed up nice like this. Okay, something like this. And then I'll just hit key. So here's what we end up with for our fist control. I can grab my fist here, open, close. And you can tweak that and add easing and all kinds of cool stuff. Okay. Lastly, let's add one more channel here, or one more attribute to each of these clavicle controls. Okay. We'll go up here to channel, add attribute. This is going to be called clav twist. Okay, and I don't need any values. The reason I don't need any values is because I'm going to do a direct connect from this twist attribute from here into here. Okay, so we'll go to Window, General Editor, Connection Editor. Let's reload the left side there so we can have this object, the clavicle control, over here on this side, and the clavicle IK handle, we'll reload that on the right. And then I'm just going to connect clav twist, that little attribute we created, into twist. All right, by doing that, it just makes it a lot easier for us later if we wanted to provide a little bit of twisting at the shoulder. If your character was to pull, she was supposed to pull her arms back behind her head like she's getting ready to dive or jump, then there would be some pinching here in the shoulder that we could fix with that little bit of a twist. Okay. So I only did one side. I'll let you do the other side. It's, like I said, really easy setup. I'm going to do it at the end of this lesson. So in the next lesson, these two will be rigged up and ready to go.